They had conquered many worlds. One after another, their power spread through the stars like wildfire. No one could stop them. Their ships moved with terrible speed and strength, destroying anything that stood in their way. They were the conquerors, and the galaxy feared them. The people of many planets watched from their homes feeling helpless. They had seen their neighbors' worlds fall to the conquerors, cities burned, armies defeated, and governments crushed. The conquerors never showed mercy. They wanted control, and they would take it by force if they had to. In a quiet corner of space far from the chaos, a group of humans worked on something new. They built a warship unlike any other. It was strong, fast, and had weapons the conquerors had never seen before. The human scientists and engineers worked day and night. They knew what was coming. The conquerors were coming too. Word spread quickly across the galaxy. Stories of this new human warship reached the ears of the conquerors' leaders. At first they laughed. They thought humans were weak and small compared to their mighty fleet. How could one warship stop them? But the more they heard, the more they worried. The human warship was different. It was a symbol of hope for the many who had lost everything. It was a sign that maybe, just maybe, the conquerors could be stopped. On the conqueror's homeworld, the leader stood in a great hall filled with screens showing distant worlds. He watched the stars as his fleet moved toward the last untouched planets. His voice was cold and calm. They are nothing. We will take all that we want. His generals bowed, but some of them looked worried. One general spoke up. My lord, this human warship, it is not like the others. It has already destroyed some of our smaller ships. The leader's eyes narrowed. Send more ships. We will crush it like the rest. Meanwhile, on a distant planet, people gathered in secret. They whispered about the coming battle. They hoped the humans would succeed. They prayed for the warship's crew to be strong and brave. The human captain stood on the deck of the warship. His eyes were sharp and his hands steady. He had trained for this moment all his life. He knew the danger, but he also knew the importance of their mission. We do not fight for glory, he said to his crew. We fight for our homes, our families, and all those who cannot fight. We will stand strong. We will not let fear control us. The crew nodded. They trusted their captain and believed in their ship. As the alien fleet approached, the stars around the warship seemed to darken. The silence before the storm was heavy. The first shots would decide everything. The conquerors fired their weapons. Explosions lit up space. The human warship dodged quickly using speed and skill. It returned fire, hitting one of the enemy ships. The battle had begun. The fight was fierce. The conquerors were shocked. This was not the easy victory they expected. The human warship moved like a ghost, striking and disappearing. It was clear the conquerors had met their match. The captain saw his chance. He ordered the crew to focus their strongest weapon on the conqueror's command ship. If they could destroy it, the enemy fleet would lose control. The weapon fired, a beam of pure energy that cut through the darkness. It struck the command ship and exploded. The conqueror's fleet faltered. The leader roared in anger. Destroy that warship at all costs. But the human ship had already disappeared into the shadows of space. Far away, the people watching the battle cheered. Hope was alive again. The conquerors had been stopped, if only for now. The captain knew the war was far from over, but this victory was a sign. Humanity would fight. They would protect their worlds, and no conqueror would walk easily across the stars again. The stars were calm, but the quiet did not last long. Far from the battle that had just ended, a new force was making its way through space. The human warship, though damaged, had not stopped. It moved swiftly, carrying its crew with careful precision. The captain stood on the bridge, looking out at the endless darkness. This is not just a fight for one battle, he said quietly. It is a fight for the future of all people. We must be ready for what comes next. The crew worked in silence, repairing what they could, checking every system. They knew the conquerors would come back, they always did. But this time, the humans had something new, a secret that could change everything. As the warship moved deeper into space, sensors picked up a strange signal. It was unlike anything they had seen before. The signal was soft but steady, like a heartbeat in the void. The captain ordered the crew to investigate. They found the source on a small moon orbiting a silent planet. The moon was covered in ruins, signs of a long-lost civilization. Strange machines lay broken in the dust and towers reached into the sky like forgotten giants. Inside the ruins, the crew discovered a hidden chamber. There, glowing with a faint blue light, was an ancient device. It hummed quietly, full of power. The captain and his officers studied it carefully. "This technology is old," the chief engineer said, "but it has power beyond anything we have now. If we can understand it, we might turn the tide in this war." The captain nodded. "We must protect this secret. If the conquerors find it, they will take it and use it against us." As they worked to unlock the device's mysteries, the warship's sensors warned of an approaching fleet. The conquerors had found them again, faster than expected. The crew prepared for another encounter, but this time they had more than weapons and speed. They had hope and something powerful in their hands. The battle began far from any world. The conquerors moved in formation, their ships glowing with bright lights. The human warship waited patiently, using the ruins for cover. It was a small advantage, but every bit helped. The conquerors sent out signals, trying to confuse the humans. Strange sounds filled the airwaves and illusions flickered on the ship's screens. But the crew stayed calm. They knew the conquerors relied on fear and confusion to win. The captain gave clear orders. "Trust your training. Focus on what is real. We will win because we are prepared." The human warship moved like a shadow through the stars, striking quickly, then hiding. It used the ancient technology to protect itself, creating shields stronger than anything the conquerors had seen. One by one, the enemy ships slowed and turned away. They were no longer sure they could win. The conquerors had met an enemy they did not understand. Back on the warship, the captain looked at his crew. "This is more than a battle," he said. "It is a test of will. We fight for all those who cannot fight. We show the galaxy that humans will never give up." The crew cheered quietly, their spirits rising. As the conquerors retreated once again, the captain knew the war was far from over. But this victory had shown that humans were not weak. They had strength, courage, and the will to protect their home. The secret technology still hummed in the chamber below deck. It was a beacon of hope, waiting for the day it would help humanity, change the course of the war forever. The stars stretched endlessly, cold and quiet. But beneath this calm surface, the human warship moved like a shadow, prepared for what was coming next. The captain stood quietly on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the glowing dots on the screen, enemy ships closing in slowly but surely. "We've slowed them down," the chief engineer said softly. "But they won't stop trying. They've learned from their mistakes." The captain nodded. "And so have we. Every battle teaches us something new." The crew worked without pause. Systems hummed softly as repairs were made, weapons were checked, and shields were strengthened. Outside the ship, space was dark but full of secrets. The ancient technology they had found earlier was starting to show its true power. The engineers had unlocked some of its secrets, and it was changing everything. Shields grew stronger, energy flowed more freely, and new defenses were built. The captain looked at the crew, feeling their determination. This ship is more than metal and wires. It is hope, and hope is stronger than fear. A sudden alert broke the calm. Sensors picked up movement. More ships, but this time different. They moved carefully, almost cautiously. The conquerors had sent a special group to find and destroy the human warship. The captain's eyes narrowed. They are serious now. This is no longer a simple fight. It is a challenge. The special group was fast and smart. Their ships did not just attack. They tried to outthink the humans. They sent signals to confuse, to mislead, to trap. The crew worked together, listening and learning. The human warship danced through the stars, dodging tricks and traps. The captain ordered slow, careful movements. Patience wins battles. Suddenly, the warship's systems detected a hidden trap, a field designed to slow them down, to stop their engines. The engineers scrambled to find a way to break through. "It's like a net," the chief engineer said, "but we can find a way out." Hours passed. The crew worked without rest. Slowly, they found the rhythm of the trap and learned to move with it. They slipped through the net, barely escaping. The captain smiled. "We do not give up. We do not stop. We survive." But the battle had not ended. The special group was still close behind, watching and waiting. The humans knew this was a test of more than strength. It was a test of mind and spirit. Late in the cycle, the captain called a meeting. "We need to change our plan. They expect us to fight the way we always do. It's time to surprise them." The crew listened carefully. The captain explained a new strategy, one that used their ship's speed and the ancient technology in new ways. They would not just defend, they would lead the enemy into a trap. As the warship moved out, the stars seemed to watch in silence. The humans prepared to face their toughest challenge yet. The conquerors were powerful, but humans had something no one else did: unbreakable will. The first moves of the new plan worked. The special group fell into the trap, caught in a field that blocked their signals and slowed their ships. The human warship moved fast, striking at weak points and then disappearing before the enemy could respond. The battle grew quieter. The conquerors began to retreat again, slower this time, more cautious. The captain looked at his crew with pride. "We have shown them that humans fight not just with weapons but with hearts and minds. This is only the beginning." The crew cheered softly, knowing the war was far from over. But they had learned something important, that they could stand against the greatest force in the galaxy and not break. As the warship moved away from the battle, the captain looked to the stars, thinking about the future. "We have a long road ahead, but we will walk it together." The ancient device still hummed quietly below decks, a reminder that hope and strength came from unexpected places. The silence of space was deep, but inside the human warship, tension filled every corner. The crew moved carefully through the dimly lit halls, their faces showing determination mixed with concern. They had won small victories, but the war was far from over. The ancient device they had found was still a mystery in many ways, but it pulsed with a strange energy, hinting at power beyond their understanding. The captain stood near the device's chamber, watching the glowing light. "This is more than technology," he said softly. "It is a key to a future we can't yet see." The scientists and engineers worked late into the cycle, studying every detail. They discovered that the device could amplify energy in ways they had never imagined. It could protect the ship, boost their communication, and even help them see through the conqueror's tricks. As the crew learned more, a message came through the ship's quiet channels. It was faint, almost like a whisper, but it carried meaning. The signal came from a hidden network, a group of beings who had watched the conquerors for generations. They had chosen to stay quiet, but now they reached out. The captain listened carefully as the message played. The voice was calm but serious. "We have seen what you have done. You carry hope for all who suffer under the conquerors. But you must be cautious. The conquerors will not stop. They grow stronger." The crew looked at each other, understanding the gravity of the warning. Help was coming, but the danger was growing too. The captain sent a message back. "We will protect our worlds and those who cannot fight. Together we can change the fate of the galaxy." With new allies, the human warship gained fresh strength. The hidden beings shared knowledge of the conqueror's weaknesses and new ways to use the ancient device. The ship's defenses improved, and the crew learned new skills. But the conquerors were not idle. They sensed the change and prepared a plan to capture the human warship and the device. One day, while the crew trained and repaired, the warship's sensors picked up a strange object moving quickly through space. It was not a ship, but a probe, sent to spy and gather information. The captain ordered a careful response. They could not risk a fight, not yet. Instead, they used the new technology to trace the probe's origin. The signal led them to a hidden station deep inside an asteroid belt. The station was dark and quiet but alive with secrets. A small team was sent to explore. They found walls covered in strange symbols and rooms filled with machines. The station was a research base used by the conquerors to study ancient powers and build weapons. Among the ruins, the team discovered plans and data logs. The conquerors were trying to understand the ancient device and build a weapon even stronger. Then the captain realized the danger was greater than they thought. The conquerors were racing to catch up with the humans, and if they succeeded, the balance of power would shift again. Back on the warship, the captain gathered his officers. We must protect the device at all costs. We cannot let it fall into their hands. The crew prepared for what was ahead. They trained harder, studied the new knowledge, and made plans for the future. As the warship moved away from the asteroid belt, the captain looked at the stars. This is more than a battle for survival. It is a fight for hope, for freedom. We will stand strong no matter what comes. The ancient device continued to glow softly, a beacon in the dark. It was a reminder that even in the deepest silence of space, light could still shine. The silence of space was deep, but inside the human warship, tension filled every corner. The crew moved carefully through the dimly lit halls, their faces showing determination mixed with concern. They had won small victories, but the war was far from over. The ancient device they had found was still a mystery in many ways, but it pulsed with a strange energy, hinting at power beyond their understanding. The captain stood near the device's chamber, watching the glowing light. "This is more than technology," he said softly. "It is a key to a future we can't yet see." The scientists and engineers worked late into the cycle, studying every detail. They discovered that the device could amplify energy in ways they had never imagined. It could protect the ship, boost their communication, and even help them see through the conqueror's tricks. As the crew learned more, a message came through the ship's quiet channels. It was faint, almost like a whisper, but it carried meaning. The signal came from a hidden network, a group of beings who had watched the conquerors for generations. They had chosen to stay quiet, but now they reached out. The captain listened carefully as the message played. The voice was calm but serious. "We have seen what you have done. You carry hope for all who suffer under the conquerors. But you must be cautious. The conquerors will not stop. They grow stronger." The crew looked at each other, understanding the gravity of the warning. Help was coming, but the danger was growing too. The captain sent a message back. "We will protect our worlds and those who cannot fight. Together we can change the fate of the galaxy." With new allies, the human warship gained fresh strength. The hidden beings shared knowledge of the conqueror's weaknesses and new ways to use the ancient device. The ship's defenses improved, and the crew learned new skills. But the conquerors were not idle. They sensed the change and prepared a plan to capture the human warship and the device. One day, while the crew trained and repaired, the warship's sensors picked up a strange object moving quickly through space. It was not a ship, but a probe, sent to spy and gather information. The captain ordered a careful response. They could not risk a fight, not yet. Instead, they used the new technology to trace the probe's origin. The signal led them to a hidden station deep inside an asteroid belt. The station was dark and quiet but alive with secrets. A small team was sent to explore. They found walls covered in strange symbols and rooms filled with machines. The station was a research base used by the conquerors to study ancient powers and build weapons. Among the ruins, the team discovered plans and data logs. The conquerors were trying to understand the ancient device and build a weapon even stronger. Then the captain realized the danger was greater than they thought. The conquerors were racing to catch up with the humans, and if they succeeded, the balance of power would shift again. Back on the warship, the captain gathered his officers. We must protect the device at all costs. We cannot let it fall into their hands. The crew prepared for what was ahead. They trained harder, studied the new knowledge, and made plans for the future. As the warship moved away from the asteroid belt, the captain looked at the stars. This is more than a battle for survival. It is a fight for hope, for freedom. We will stand strong no matter what comes. The ancient device continued to glow softly, a beacon in the dark. It was a reminder that even in the deepest silence of space, light could still shine. The dark silence of space stretched on, but inside the human warship, a quiet urgency filled the air. The crew had grown stronger, their skills sharper and their hope brighter. Yet the shadows of the conquerors still loomed close, always watching, always waiting. The ancient device hummed softly, as if alive, its energy weaving through the ship like a heartbeat. The captain stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the endless stars ahead. We have come far, he said quietly, but the real test is still before us. The crew gathered, their faces a mix of determination and uncertainty. They knew the journey would not be easy. The conquerors had learned much, and their new plans were more dangerous than ever. But the humans had a secret strength, a will that no machine could match. A new message came through, faint and coded. It was a call for help from a distant planet under threat. The inhabitants were peaceful and had no means to defend themselves. The conquerors had set their sights on this world, seeking to take control of its resources and people. The captain looked at his officers. We cannot ignore this. We fight not only for ourselves, but for all who need protection. The warship changed course, moving swiftly toward the distant planet. The crew prepared, checking weapons, shields, and the ancient device's power. They knew the conquerors would be waiting. As the ship approached the planet, sensors detected something unusual. The conquerors had left traps, fields designed to slow the ship and confuse its systems. But the ancient technology reacted, forming shields that shimmered like glass, pushing back the invisible net. The planet below was beautiful, blue oceans, green forests, and cities that glowed softly in the twilight. The people watched the sky, hope rising as the human warship appeared. The captain sent a message. We are here to help. You are not alone. On the planet's surface, leaders met quietly, discussing the coming danger and the arrival of their unexpected protectors. They had heard stories of the human warship, stories of courage and hope, and now those stories were real. Back on the ship, the crew prepared for the encounter. The conqueror's fleet was nearby, larger and more organized than before, but this time the humans had allies, secret allies who had watched from the shadows and were ready to join the fight. The battle began not with weapons, but with strategy. The human warship and its new allies moved carefully, cutting off the conqueror's supply lines and disrupting their communications. They worked together like a single mind, each action planned and precise. The conquerors responded with their own tactics, sending scouts to gather information and using their knowledge of the ancient device to try and find weaknesses. But the humans stayed one step ahead, using every bit of knowledge and courage they had. In the thick of the struggle, the captain made a choice. He ordered a small team to land on the planet and work with the locals to strengthen defenses and prepare for the next phase. The team left the ship, stepping into a world that had waited too long for help. The planet's people welcomed them, offering knowledge of their land and skies. Together, they built new defenses and trained quickly, learning to work as one with the humans. Back in space, the warship continued to fight, its shields glowing brighter with the ancient device's power. The battle was hard and moments of doubt came, but the crew never gave up. As the conflict grew, the captain looked at the stars and thought about the future. We fight for those who cannot fight. We stand for hope, for freedom, for all. The warship's engines hummed with renewed strength, ready to face whatever came next. The ancient device pulsed softly, a reminder that even in the darkest times light could shine. The cold silence of space stretched endlessly, but inside the human warship, a quiet storm was building. The crew moved with a steady rhythm, their faces marked by the wear of many battles yet bright with hope. The ancient device continued to hum softly, its energy pulsing through the ship like a living force. It was a symbol of everything they fought for, a future not ruled by fear but by courage and unity. The captain stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the stars. "This is the moment we have prepared for," he said quietly. The final test. Messages came from their new allies, beings from distant worlds who had watched humanity's fight with hope and respect. They promised support, a united front against the conquerors who sought to control the galaxy. The crew gathered, their spirits lifted by the news. They knew the path ahead would be difficult, but they were ready. Together they would face the conquerors one last time. As the warship approached a vast star system, the sensors detected the conquerors' fleet waiting in formation. It was the largest they had seen, ships of all sizes, arranged like a wall across the stars. The conquerors intended to end the fight here. The captain took a deep breath. This is more than a battle. It is a stand for everything we believe in. The warship and its allies moved forward, not just as fighters, but as a symbol of hope. The ancient device glowed brighter, its energy flowing through the shields and weapons, making them stronger and more precise. The battle began with careful movements. The humans and their allies used every strategy they had learned: speed, surprise, and the power of the ancient device. They avoided direct conflict when possible, focusing on disrupting the conquerors' formations and cutting off their communications. The conquerors responded with their own tactics, trying to surround and isolate the human warship. But the humans were not alone. Their allies arrived in force, joining the fight and turning the tide. In the midst of the battle, the captain ordered a daring move. A small group of ships, including the human warship, slipped through the enemy lines and moved toward the conquerors' command center. Inside the command center, the conquerors watched the battle with growing concern. They had not expected the humans to come so close or to fight with such determination and unity. The small group of ships used the ancient device's power to disrupt the command center's systems. Lights flickered, machines slowed, and confusion spread among the conquerors. The captain's voice came through the comms, calm and strong. "This is a fight for freedom. We stand together and we will not be broken." The conquerors faltered. Their ships slowed. Their lines broke. The humans and their allies pressed forward, driving them back step by step. As the battle ended, the warship floated among the stars, its crew tired but victorious. The ancient device's glow softened, a promise of peace and hope. The captain looked at his crew. "This is not the end. It is a new beginning. Together we will build a future where no one lives in fear." The crew cheered softly, knowing the war was won, but the journey continued. The stars seemed brighter now, full of possibilities. The ancient device hummed one last time, a light in the dark, a symbol of humanity's strength and hope.